Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.
You're watching Conversations with Jennylyn, and today I have a return guest for you. I've done a few segments with him, but today I know you're really going to want to hear what he's talking about. He is a fire walker. He can also break a full concrete brick with his hand. And so today we're going to discuss how he does it and why you might want to think about learning how to do it or not. At the end of this video, we'll figure that out. Jacob, welcome to Conversations with Jennylyn once more.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited, Jennylyn, and always a pleasure, and especially on this topic.
Yes, well, I am fascinated with it. I've watched some people doing it with Tony Robbins and other people who are trained and who provide a safe environment to do it, because I would imagine it's not safe to set up a bunch of charcoals in your backyard and just start walking on it.
Not recommended at all.
You might not get very far. So welcome, and tell us why and how you got started walking on hot charcoals.
Yeah, so, we've seen, most of us have probably seen or been to events where it's been happening, but I was at an event with T. Harv Eker 22 years ago, I think it was, and it was called Warrior Camp, and you didn't know what was going on, but each day, it was a 5-day event. There were all these challenges that you were faced with emotionally, physically, etc. And one of the nights, we had been through a whole day of just amazing, scary, confrontational things that we were having to deal and address with, which we analogized towards life. But at the end, they said, okay, now we got the biggest challenge of the thing. And it was, you're going to walk, on hot coals. And I was like, oh no, and then you see this big, huge fire and this mountain of coals, because there were 200 of us. And so they had this big, huge fire, and then they do this preparation and they get you a little bit excited, and then you go stand in line. And all through the line, I'm thinking, I'm going to get burned from my feet to the knees will disappear. They're going to be burned, or I'm going to fall and get blistered. And all these thoughts were going through my head as I'm still in line. But I started seeing other people. I was about 30 people in line, somewhere around there. And I started seeing all these people go through it. And so I stayed in line, even though I was scared beyond scared. And when it got to me, this is a really, you set yourself, you chose somebody to receive you at the end. And the reason they received you was to make sure you wipe your feet just in case anything stuck. And to celebrate, because it's so joyous. And so I'm focused on my person, and they said, when you're ready, start walking. And I'm just about ready to take my step, and I feel a hand on my chest. And it's T. Harv Eker. If you know him, he has a really deep voice. And here's what I hear. I feel a hand on my chest, so my eyes kind of come to this awareness because I was in focus. And I hear, fresh coals. Which were totally put me back in fear, because I'm thinking, oh no, they bring these wheelbarrows and put these hot coals on. And I'm thinking, oh man, why didn't they just leave the old ones on? And then I remembered, right? They were as hot as the ones they're putting on. There's no difference. So I kind of relaxed again, and I had to reset, and then I walked. And it's one of the longest fire walks I've ever done. My first one, it was 36 feet, 12 meters. And a normal walk will be 8 to 12 feet for the average participant to an event. And I got to the end, and it was total elation. I'm like, oh my God, I walked on hot coals, and I had charcoal stains on my feet, and that was it. Nothing, it was like this amazing experience. So that was my first introduction.
What do you mean that was it? Tell us, be honest. Was it painful?
No.
You didn't feel it?
No, there's techniques. Well, it's not mind over matter. The shortest analogy I can give you is a good instructor, and I was taught by the same person as Harv Eker and Tony Robbins, and I was his last class, is you bring the energy level of the participants up to the level of the fire.
How do you do
Everything's vibrational and energy. You do it through um, conversation, and then like we do chants. Like one chant that we might do is yes, 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 and you now you got, you know, however many people in the group saying this, and you're raising the level. Like just me saying it, I'm getting a little bit of chills going because I know that excitement level. And when you can raise your energy level up, you can face certain problems. And that's what happened to me. And I can share what the biggest lesson that I got was after the event. And you want me to share it?
Yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
I'm still like dumbfounded. I'm sitting here looking at you going, you walked on coals and it was great. If I set some coals up in my yard and walk, will I come across it? Will I even get past the first step?
Well, there's a lot more to than just putting any type of wood down and burning it. And there's you have to be a certified instructor, which I became. You have to know your woods. You have to know, you know, the right time to walk on it, because they're, you know, obviously I put a pyrometer on it, which is a measurement tool, and it'll be between 1400 900 to 1400 degrees at walk time, and that will burn anything if done improperly. Yet I looked a statistic up once, and it's when done properly, it's one out of every, I think it's 15,000 people that get any form of burn. The average burn is probably about the size of the tip of your pinky. And there's a pressure point technique that we share that will totally make that disappear overnight. I've had one burn in my experience, and I've walked well over 100, 120 times. And I've had one burn, and it was when mentally I wasn't prepared. I was done. And my ego saw other people still walking. When you do certifications, and I get recertified every few years, just going to events with my teacher, and you do multiple walks. You might walk 10 times, 15 times in a night. And there's some times where you're just done. I've walked enough. And my ego saw my peers still walking. And I kept saying, no, I'm good. And my ego said, no, but look at those people. You should walk one more time. And I did. And that's the only time I've ever been burned, was when mentally I wasn't ready for it. I let down, and my energy level wasn't up, and I didn't build it back up. But
Good old
anybody
Mr.
can walk.
Ego. Good old Mr. Ego gets us in so much trouble.
Yes.
You were going to tell me something just now. You go, do you want me to tell you? And then I interrupted you, and I'm sorry about that. Do you want to tell us what it was you were going to say, or you don't remember?
Yeah, no, I do remember because it was
Tell us.
so profound. And it's the reason I became certified. So I came back from this event and I was all excited. Um, and you know, even after a shower, the charcoal stains were still there, and they were like a badge of courage and honor. You know, I was excited about it, but I'm in my business. It was my first physical business that I started. And I remember my receptionist bust through the door. Her eyes were really big, and she said, Jacob, we have this big problem. And in the past, I would go, oh, what is it? We got to deal with it. And my thought was, 3 days ago, I walked 36 feet on hot coals. This is nothing. And it was an aha moment. I realized, oh, I just learned how to deal with big problems calmly. I was like, bring it on, let's do it. And I got through that problem so easily because I analogized walking hot coals. And a big problem you have to address. Hot coals you have to address. You stand at them, you get yourself prepared. You prepare prior to it, but then you address the problem. And then as soon as you're ready, you start walking, and you don't stop until you get to the end. And I realized this is how I can handle big problems in my business. And
And
then
you
I analogized it to my life. Yeah, it was amazing.
You run? I could see me
No, you
running.
don't run. Running will get you hurt.
Okay, okay.
You walk
But
with purpose, but you don't run.
the people who teach this technique, what is the thought behind it? What is someone who has mastered this art supposed to, why would they benefit from knowing how to do this?
Well, one thing it breaks you through to another level of your own personal understanding that no matter what challenge is in front of you, you have the capacity quickly to shift your old beliefs. Because my old belief was if you touch a hot coal, you're going to get burned. And I probably had been burned at least once, charcoal or whatever it was. Um, and my belief was totally like extinguished. I'll use a fire term that night because my old belief was if I do this, I'm going to get hurt. I even said I envisioned myself being burned to the knees. And for some reason, I was still in that line.
So is
And
it safe to say then that getting burned by fire or charcoal in this case is a mind over matter, that if you know how, you can step on it and not get hurt?
well, again, only do it with somebody who's certified because there's certain things, if you do it wrong, you will seriously get hurt.
Mhm.
So I don't condone anybody doing it on their own in their backyard at all, ever, no matter what. I would never do it myself, even being certified alone. You always have somebody with you, number one, that knows what they're doing, that can handle and help. The other thing is it's not mind over matter. It's bringing your energy level up to the level of the problem.
What if
So
someone watching this is saying, but there are other ways to do that? Why would I want to choose that method?
then choose the other method. That would be my suggestion. There's many ways. I mean, I've done events where we do 14 different experiences, from walking fire to a sweat lodge to breaking bricks to breaking boards to breaking flaming boards to breaking an arrow with your throat to doing all these things that people go, why would you do that? And part
But
of it
can you,
is it's
sorry, can I interrupt you? Can you
yeah,
do all of the ones you just listed? Are you capable of doing them all? And have you done them all?
yes, many times.
You broke
Uh,
something with your throat.
Yeah,
And
I'll send a video so you can post it. But yeah, breaking an arrow with your throat is not recommended unless you're with a certified instructor. But there's different, each modality to me, each experience to me presents an ability, a tool that you can take with you. And this is what separates me from a lot of anybody that I know that has done this. And there's a lot of certified firewalkers out there, and they're really good. But the way that I teach it is how to use this experience not as your ego boost, which you'll get, I guarantee you, no matter what you do. Break a board, it's exciting that you could break a board with your hand. It's amazing. But what problem in life or in business does a board break or a firewalk or an arrow break? What does that, what shows up in those forms, and how can you use that in your life moving forward? And I'll use a quick example. A firewalk, you address it, and when you start walking, you walk with awareness and purpose. If it feels too hot, you step off to the side. You come back, you regroup, you start. Or you go until you finish. Now, I also teach people, and I've done this many times myself, walk on broken glass. Why would anybody do that? And the lesson that it teaches for me was worth it. It's totally different than a firewalk. It's walking very slowly and methodically, being aware of every single point that you're dealing with. And if something feels too sharp, you just back up a little bit and you adjust. In problems, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because I coach coaches and entrepreneurs, we come across things all the time that are challenges that are, doubts, that are hesitations, that are problems that get created. And how we address them determines the level of success that we reach and the pace of success that shows up, the pace that it shows up at. And all of these experiential things that I teach are things that every entrepreneur could use along the way. And a fire walk is a huge problem, and you walk with determined conviction. You don't run, but you walk with determined. You don't stop. You're determined, and I'm getting to the end of this. That's a really committed, determined commitment to walk on hot coals. On glass, it's total commitment, but it's very slow and methodical. So which problems require you to slow down and take your time so that you can deal with them in the proper way and not rush through them? And then a board break is a specific little problem, and those show up often. But in a board break, if you aim this far below the board, there is a 99% chance you will always break it. You will always solve the problem. So in the board break or a small problem, focus on the result afterward. And there's a good chance that you won't just focus on that point, because on a board, if you just focus on the point, your hand will stop at the board and you'll bounce off, and sometimes that stings. But if you focus on beyond and you go follow through, right? You stay committed and you follow through, you will 99% of the time always break that board. And so that's why I teach these.
And how many people would you say have been interested in trying these techniques over your career and teaching these?
Yeah, well, I've only been doing it this will be my 4th year, and we take 1 year away because of COVID. But in my experience in doing it, there's probably been hundreds, like four to 500 people total. There's been
Taught to do these?
hundreds of thousands, if not millions, that have walked, over the last, because my teacher, his name's Tali Burkan, he retired, but he was the person who brought it to the Western world in the mid 70s or late 70s.
Where was he from? Which country?
He's from the US. He lives about 3 hours away from me here in Northern California. And so, there's been millions of people that have walked. Most of the events that you go to, it's the culminating experience. All right, now, we're going to wrap up the event. You're going to walk on hot coals, and they'll walk a small fire walk, which any walk, one step is an accomplishment. But to put a real challenge up, do a 20 or 30-foot walk, which requires, multiple steps. That's where the expertise comes in, even more so, but that's also teaching you more about the lessons for me. And I was all about this big aha moment I got when I got back to my office. That's why I became certified, was I use these tools in my life and they really help. I can't be that unique. And it's proven that that was true.
Amazing. So you have all of these tools that you offer to people that you work with as a coach.
Yes.
How many people, when you suggest walking on coals, are like, yeah, let's go? And how many people are like, is there another way I can raise my energy level? And what is the difference between the two responses?
I think everybody is curious, if not interested. And a lot of times when I start having events again, I'll invite people just to come and watch. And at least 50% on a slow event of those that just came to watch will end up walking.
So you end up turning your spectators into students.
Sometimes.
Just from watching the event? And do
Well,
you
you
that
see,
so?
yeah, well, you see, like even if you were at this event just to report on it or write a report, just to observe, and you started seeing what happens, and you are involved in those times where I'm building everybody up, and you can't help but feel the energy of the group, and you get excited with the group. even though you know you're not going to participate. And then you come out to the fire when it's ready, and I get everything ready, and you see me walk it. And then I come to the front of the fire and I say, the fire is now open. Whoever's ready, please come up. And people will start coming up and they'll start walking. And you can't help but be excited, especially when you see somebody walking and at the end, they're jumping up and down, dancing, yelling, oh, well, that's amazing. And you see nobody's getting injured. What your mind was saying was going to happen doesn't happen. There's 50% of the people will go, I gotta do this. I gotta experience. These people are having way too much fun. I got to experience this. And then I'll make sure, because if you'll notice at a fire event that a good instructor is at, you'll notice he's looking at everybody before they walk in, and I'll go, okay, you're ready. That's just knowing intuition and, practice that they're really ready to go. Sometimes I'll take people aside and build them up a little bit, because I'll say, hey, I feel a little bit of doubt here. Let's make sure that you're 100%. And one of the hardest things to do, and I proved it when I shared when I got burned, is to address the fire and walk away from it when you really know you're not ready. Because you see everybody else going, and what's the ego telling you?
You better go or you're a wimp.
Right. And the strongest person in the whole group is the one that can walk away from it when they know they're not ready. The only time people get burned is when they're not mentally ready for it. It's not mind over matter. Is my energy level up to this capacity? Because our fear level pulls us down. It's like the crab thing. There's this fear crab pulling you down back into the bucket. And what we do is we kick those crabs away and we just rise up to the occasion, which is what we all do as humans, whether you're an entrepreneur, a coach, or just a person. When things show up in our life, you're a mom, right?
Yes, I
When
am.
there was situations that were critical, what did you do? You jumped into mama bear mode and nothing could stop you, right?
Exactly.
That's the energy level I'm talking about.
So if you've done this with hundreds of people, what is the worst that's happened to someone, or what was something catastrophic that happened during this? You can't tell me none.
None. Yeah,
So you didn't have
whatever
one
you're looking for, it's
person.
not there when it's done properly.
Mhm.
If it's too
Let me
windy,
finish.
you shut the fire down.
So you've never had a person who was all psyched and started to cross, and in the middle, the brain kicked in and somehow sabotaged that person's attempt. Never. Every person who started finished.
No, that's not what you asked. You said what catastrophic thing ever
Oh, okay,
happened?
okay. So when someone does that, okay, they start crossing, and halfway across, the fear kicks in, and then they decided, I don't want to do this. What happens?
You step off.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's
and
that
you're
simple.
taught that if you're properly addressed, there's one side that'll have fire and there's one side that doesn't. And you just step off. I've
So there's
had
a need
many
to
people
get
step
clear.
off.
Uh-huh.
Many people step off. They just weren't at that point. And then it takes them a little bit. Some never finish, but most of them go back and rewalk it at some point.
So the people who step off, do you think it's because they were feeling like they were getting burnt, or do you think the brain and the doubt was the reason? What do you think?
Probably both. Sometimes it's fear and doubt, which leads to, I feel like I'm being burned. And then they step off and realize they weren't. And then we do, like I said, there's techniques that you do that you're trained to help this group with that kind of take all of that out of your thought process.
Yeah.
If you're in that mindset right at the beginning, I will see it and you won't walk my fire until you're ready. And sometimes, there's been one occasion where someone just wasn't ready, even though they were telling me they were. And I just said, look, you can't walk my fire.
So you do feel the heat, you just don't get burned. You feel
Oh,
the
you feel the heat. When you address it, it's 9 to 1400 degrees. Your feet, you feel the heat. It's radiating out for sure.
If I walk in my backyard without shoes, that hurts. I don't think I can walk on a fire. I don't know.
Anything you say, I've thought. So this is the last time I walked, which was in 2019. I had walked over 100 times, and I was helping assist a new group of certified. So I was assisting my trainer in assistance. And one of the thoughts I had, I walked the previous night, probably 10, 12 times. And now we were walking another one that second night. And I had this thought, my feet feel sweaty. What if the coals stick to my feet? That's after 100 attempts. So these things still show up. That's why you have to do these techniques to get yourself to that level. Just like with any problem, you know, we can use our reticular activation system in our brain, which is our memory bank, our RAS. And it either says, this is really bad, or my experience was really good. This isn't a problem to me. And so but sometimes, even though you've had the experience, because we had this old belief still there, it'll show up. It's just easier to overcome it. And that's part of the reason that I do these events. I only do a couple a year when I'm rocking and rolling with it, because they are a lot of work to get together, but they are so transforming. When you go through one of these experiences and then we sit around in a circle and you share what the meaning of this experience to you. I've seen people that have gone through, you know, the most horrible traumas in their life for the first time be able to speak about it. It changes lives. It transformed me to be where I'm at. I wouldn't be a certified firewalk instructor had I not walked and got that moment where I go, oh, it totally changed the way I address problems. I have to share this with other people.
So a pilot has to have so many hours before he can go off and fly his own airplane. Is that similar? Do you have to walk coals a certain number of times before you are allowed to be an instructor?
Yes, there's a lot of different tests or techniques that you have to master. And at the end, there's, you know, there's a active kind of exam that you go through. And there's a series of different types of walks and different techniques. You have to be not only able to instruct on it, you have to do it, because every experience that I'll show at an event or share, I do first. And part of it is to show you as my participants that I can do it, that it not that I can do it, that it can be done. And it's also a way to make sure everything is done properly. Because if it's not, if somebody's going to get hurt, I'd rather it be me. Like, I'd rather nobody be hurt. But if somebody is going to be, just for, you know, litigation reasons, right? I'd rather it be me than a participant. But that said, firewalking, breaking boards, breaking arrows, walking on glass. The most dangerous experience that I take people through is none of those.
Do you believe we are out of time? We haven't even talked about breaking the bricks and the boards, and we're down to 1 minute. Can you tell us really quickly about that so that we have an idea of how you do that, breaking the bricks and breaking the boards?
Yeah,
Where
again,
do you do it? I have a ton of questions still. Like, do you have a place where you teach these, where you actually have these events? And is it in your backyard? I mean, where do you do it? How do you do it?
yeah, I do. I'll be traveling different parts of the country and in some places in Canada to do it. The best way to do that is look at my website, which is my name, jacobroig.com. I'll be posting those not until 2022. It's just there's too much work that still has to be done as a country for us to be able to do that. So the events are going to be at random places. There isn't one specific place where people come to have that done. I don't know of any place that does that. Most of them are done at different events. I'll also be partnering with some people, and you can find me, like I said, at my website or social media. I'm on LinkedIn all the time, and that's where I'll be announcing.
So you don't have a physical location where someone could call you up and go, I want to walk on coals. Can I schedule an appointment with you? It doesn't work that way.
Well, you can.
You can?
Yeah, it may not be right now, and it may not be in your location, but if you're willing to travel, by all means, get in touch with me. Reach me at my email, which is my name without any dashes or commas at Gmail, jacobroig@gmail.com. Let me know in a subject line, interested in a fire walk or a board break or whatever it is, and I will send you an idea right now because nothing's solidified yet, but I'm in talks with about 4 different regions and people that in 2022 will be doing a lot of this. So I'm excited for
What?
2022 to get here.
In the US or globally?
3 will be in the US, 1 will be in Canada.
Okay. And why, or real quickly, because we're out of time, our time has run up, but before we go, why would you choose one or the other? Why would you want to break the arrow with your throat versus breaking a concrete slab versus walking on fire? What's the difference, and is it important? Are they all
Well,
the same common goal?
yeah, they all relate to a different form of problem. So if you have a lot of small problems that set you back and hold you from accomplishing what you're looking to do, then I would say a board break or a brick break. Brick break obviously is a bigger problem than a board because it's harder to break than a board. If you have a problem speaking up, speaking out, speaking your truth, an arrow break absolutely can transform that. If you have a problem slowing down and addressing things, taking time, things of that nature, a glass walk would be recommended. And if you freak out with big problems and they seem to like totally, take you out, a fire walk is highly recommended.
This is fascinating stuff. To think that we all have these abilities. And the one thing that stops us maybe too is our lack of knowledge and our self-doubt.
Yeah, it's our belief system that gets shattered in a weekend. Change is not difficult when you have the proper knowledge and instruction and motivation to change. People's lives transform in 2.5 days. It's not difficult. It's just being ready, willing, and having the right things in place that allow you to break through your next level for sure.
So is it safe then to say that we can do a lot more, but we sabotage ourselves with our beliefs?
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. I've 12-year-old children, 80-year-old couples break bricks, walk on hot coals. Anybody can do it. It's where are you at, and are you willing to face your challenges? Yeah.
Well, the 12-year-olds are probably a lot easier to train than some old person like myself who's set in the ways I think and believe.
No, I just think you just need a little bit of exposure to it. And when you connect with it, then it makes sense. Until you connect with it, you go, wow, that's crazy. Why would I do that? I would have never have thought of doing any of these things. Never. Like, why bother? But I've also seen people with arms this big around break bricks and guys with arms this big around bounce off the brick. So it's not the strength. It's the strength of your mind and the belief.
This is great. It really is. I think we, especially now, we need to retrain our thinking because our world is going through so many massive changes.
Yeah.
And there's so many things happening that if someone would have told us it would happen, we would go craziness. And I have learned when people are telling me things not to dismiss it and call it crazy because it doesn't resonate with me because I've done that and I've been hurt by people. So now I've learned to keep an open mind. And when information comes to me to process it, and it may not be my thing, but it doesn't mean it's crazy.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that one, Jennylyn. It is a good time for us to come to saying that we understand, because subconsciously that means we stand under, we're strong. So come to understanding, you don't have to come to agreement.
I love it. Well said. Jacob, always fun to do segments with you.
My honor.
You're
Thank you so
such
much.
an inspiration, and I love your open mind and your let's go do it attitude. If it's going to make me better, let's do it. I like that. I'm like that myself. Although I don't know if I can walk on hot coals.
We'll see.
But I'll try. I will try. If it will make me a better person, I will try. And I thank you so much for continuing to watch these segments I bring. My goal always and my hope is that something that is discussed will change your life in some way for the better. And so thank you for continuing to support me by watching my show. And if you enjoy my segments, please hit the subscribe button. Everyone else does it. I haven't been doing it. I need more subscribers. And I will see you next time with another segment. Thank you so much.
Broadcasting from Silicon Valley, California, this is Conversations with Jennylyn.